All right, are we good to go?
Yes.
Okay, so let's call the meeting for the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board to order. It is 6:01, March 18th, 2021. Let's do quick introductions. I'm Cassie McClure, District 1.
Standing Goal, District 4.
I'm Marilyn Saylor, District 3.
Megan Schuler, District 6.
Hazel Nevada's Recording Secretary, Senior Office Manager, Parks and Recreation.
Mr. Thompson, is he connecting? Did I see him?
He's trying to connect right now.
Okay.
I think he's having trouble connecting his audio.
You can do staff, it's okay.
Sonny Delgado, Director, Parks and Recreation.
Kathy Matthews, Landscape Architect with Parks and Recreation.
Hi, everyone. Franco Granillo, Parks Administrator.
Bill Katnack, Recreation Administrator.
Robert Nunez, Youth Services Administrator.
We have a Silas Garcia. Are you a member of the public or staff?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, Silas Garcia, Certified Pool Operator for the Regional Aquatic Center.
Perfect. I don't see anyone else right now. Okay. So let's do conflict of interest. Does anybody on the board or city staff have a conflict of interest with any item on the agenda?
None. Sonny Delgado.
Seeing none. Let's do approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve?
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Stan, and I'll second you.
Okay, Madam Chair, I move to accept the agenda.
Second by Megan Schuler.
Any discussion needed? No. All right. All in favor?
I'll call
Standing
roll.
Goal. Oh,
Okay.
Let's see, who do we have here? We had Cassie,
Aye.
Ms. Zaylor,
Aye.
Stan,
Aye.
Megan,
Aye.
Mr. Thompson.
I can't see him on my screen right now.
I see his name, but I don't.
He's
That's all
there,
I
but he's
see.
having problems with his audio. His camera is on. So if he can hear us, I can see his camera, but I can't. He doesn't have his audio turned on.
I'm getting there.
Oh, there you
Oh,
are.
there you are.
I have the hardest time getting into this meeting. And so I am in, so I don't know if you guys can see me or
I can see you.
or not,
I
but
could.
I'm on.
We can hear you.
I can
Okay.
see you. So you're good.
All
So we
righty.
were just taking a vote on approval of agenda.
All right.
Jeff, is that an aye or a nay?
Was an all right, but yes, and I.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm thinking all right. That's good. Is that it?
Yes.
Okay. Or Hazel? Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So let's do, yeah. So I guess unanimous, right?
Yes.
Let's do go into for approval of the minutes. Can I get a motion?
Madam Chairman, I just had, and I apologize, Hazel, I wanted to bring this up earlier. I think it was on, if you'll scroll up just a little bit on the agenda, it was the meeting minutes from that special meeting. I believe there was a November date in there instead of the January date. Was the only correction that I saw on the minutes that needed to be taken care of.
Okay, what was it on again?
Scroll up just a little bit on this agenda. We had two sets of meeting minutes, correct?
On this one? No, we just have one.
We just have
The one that had two was last month.
Okay, let me pull
And
up.
I lost my screen here.
Okay, give me just a second. Let me try to pull up our agenda and jump into the minutes. I looked at these last week and I forgot to send an email. So hang tight just a minute, or I mean, I don't know, we can go ahead and approve them with a correction if need be on the date.
I'm still looking for a motion. I don't know if Megan, if you have to retract. I don't know.
I'm not sure what Megan is referring to.
Unless she's talking about the ones that were approved last month.
I think it might have been the ones that were approved last month. I think there was 2 sets of minutes because we had that special meeting.
Yes.
And then the second meeting. So we might just want to go back and just double check that our dates within the document correspond with the correct dates of the meeting.
Okay, and if they don't, I guess we'll bring them back to the next meeting too.
For correction.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I think that would be the correct course of action.
And you don't know which ones they were, the first or the second?
Yeah, I'll find it for us here while we're, and we'll try to maybe resolve this by the end of the meeting too, if I can find it and bring that to our attention before the end of our meeting today, if that is okay with everybody.
Okay.
Good.
So with that, Madam Chairman, I approve, I move to approve the minutes from the February Parks and Rec meeting.
Do I have a second?
Madam Chair, it's Stan Engel. I second.
Roll call, Hazel?
Cassie,
Aye.
Mr. Thompson,
Aye.
Marilyn, Ms. Ayler,
Aye.
Mr. Engel,
Aye.
Ms. Schuler.
Aye.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Approved. Passed unanimously. Let's go to, do we have any public for participation? I think Hazel, you see that.
I didn't see anything here. Let me just.
Sorry guys, this is what I found. Now I found it. I apologize. So this was in regards to the minutes from last month's meeting. On number 4, approval of minutes. We had 2 motions, one to approve the January 14th. And then there was Mr. Thompson moved and it says meeting minutes from November 19th, 2020.
What date is that one for what minutes?
This is for February 18th of 2021.
So approval of November?
Yes, ma'am. And I think that was, we had the 2 agendas. So the one of the special meeting and then the second one should have been the date of our regularly scheduled Parks and Rec meeting, I do believe.
Okay, so I need to check did we have it? I'll have to check and see if we had a January meeting, because if not, it would have been November, and you're correct. We might have, it either has to be January's meeting then. Okay, I will double check on that.
Okay, great. Thank you, Hazel.
Mhm.
If we don't have any public, let's go ahead and jump all the way to.
Mr. Shervanek didn't have his hand raised. If he wanted to speak, he would need to raise his hand.
Q&A here. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. I can read out what he says too. Please tell the board that the Pomeroy plaque will be installed Monday, March 22nd, 2021. KRWG will film and show. I think we just received that press release too from you, Hazel, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I don't know how to answer this. Yeah, answer live. Cool. All right, done. That's fancy. I haven't seen that yet. All right, so yes, jumping ahead to 7 because 6 we have no action items. Let's start with 6.1 park maintenance impact with Franco.
Good evening, everyone. This is Franco Granillo, Parks Administrator. Sonia, could you please share the presentation? Thank you. What I'll be discussing tonight is, a lot of questions that come up in several different settings. What happens to our staff and to our overall maintenance when a facility is added? So I'll be discussing some of those issues and providing some information for anybody who has any questions. Sonia, could you go to the next slide, please? Okay, I know we're discussing parks, but I did want to kind of touch on how we created our schedules. Way back in the day when I was the manager of medians and right-of-ways strictly, I saw that we were really reactionary and chasing our own tails. It looked like we were being guided by work orders and by putting out fires and things like that throughout the city. I didn't see any routine maintenance taking place. The effort was there, the knowledge was there, and the employees were there. We just didn't have anything in concrete laid out so everyone can succeed, on a regular routine maintenance schedule. So as we developed those schedules, we transfer them into parks when I took over parks back in 2012. And some of the things we did to create a schedule was we had staff and I spent time driving to all of our parks and create an efficiency route in order to decrease driving time. This was for the parks, trails, and medians. This time and efficiency is significantly reduced though when we expand our city and we don't expand our resources and our staff. Also, some of the things that we did was we spent time, we timed ourselves while we visited each site. We checked how long we kind of measured how long it took to service a park during a regular routine day. And also after a large event or an untraditional holiday like Mother's Day, Father's Day, and things like that, other than the 4th of July. And this was really for litter and overall cleanliness of a park to get it to a usable situation. What we also did was we looked at what would happen if the city continued to grow and we didn't grow our resources or our budget or our staff. So one of the things we came across was, of course, it's a time and a scheduling issue. Like I mentioned, we drove all these areas and we measured our time. So as more areas begin to get turned over to the city, our schedule starts spilling over into the next week. So no matter how you look at it, we have 40 hours to work. And the more you divide that 40 hours up into certain days, whether it's on weekends or Monday through Friday, it's 40 hours regardless. So the more you break up a team and the more you split staff out and resources, the harder it is to complete your task, because it really does take a team to take care of all the areas we have. And when we split out our resources like that, it seems like our services get reduced because the public really expects us to hit certain areas at certain times. And when we don't meet those expectations, we do receive phone calls and emails wondering where we've been, if anything has taken place, if there's an emergency. They really want to know what's going on, because my frontline staff really does communicate well with the public, and when they're not seen when expected, again, we do receive calls. Also one of the things I wanted to discuss was different park designs equal different maintenance situations. We don't want to have a uniform park system. We want to have diversity throughout our parks. But as I mentioned before, as the city expands, it's very difficult to meet that schedule and the timeliness that people expect of us. you know, for example, we're not expanding a lot in the center of town or on the south, but we're expanding quite a bit to the north and the east. So that takes, you know, just driving time out there. It takes us 25 minutes to get out there to certain parks that are new. So the more parks you add that are different than what we have now, the driving time, the maintenance, the type of maintenance, possibly the playground maintenance, it all adds to the time of our schedule. So I guess really what I'm trying to say is the fact that we don't want to have, the fact that we do want to have a diverse park system really impacts our schedule. Again, different types of maintenance requires different amounts of time. So if we're looking at a regular, our basic neighborhood, 2-acre park with a playground, a few benches, tables, a picnic shelter, and a water fountain, you know, we can really attack those things really well and keep them up to par. But when you have parks, you know, that are coming in with a ninja course, space climbers, a whole lot of different amenities that we're not used to, that's when the time expands and we start to fall back on our schedule and reduce, and our services seem like they're reducing. I also kind of want to discuss a little bit of our employee roles regarding maintenance. I know it seems we have a lot of employees. You know, we have a total of 57 at the Parks Yard, and that's including the community forester, 2 managers, myself, the park administrator, 6 leads, 6 irrigation employees, 5 light equipment operators, 3 heavy equipment operators, 4 parks maintenance senior workers, which are construction workers, and 1 warehouse employee. So if you take everything into account, we only have 28 parks maintenance workers actually touching the maintenance itself, the trimming, the detail work, the litter, you know, things that people really notice in a park when it's not done. And these 28 employees take care of areas such as our 299 alleyways, our 300 miles of right-of-way and medians, our interchanges, our downtown mall, Heskey Garden, our eight athletic field complexes, our 100 park sites, and all of our specialty ranges. So it's those employees are really strapped for time. And, you know, all of our staff does really assist and help in many different ways. Like I mentioned, we have 6 irrigators and 5 light equipment operators. There's times their job description is very specific. You know, they mow, they fix irrigation, they install irrigation, they do things like that. But at the same time, when the maintenance staff gets behind, they jump off their tractors, they jump off their mowers, and they really do help. So that's kind of what I talked about earlier. The more we split out our resources, the less help we have for the actual maintenance workers, the boots on the ground. Some things that people often don't consider cost-wise is, you know, if we get a park area requested of us, you know, to have built or, you know, to swap land or anything like that, and we have to develop a park on that, people tend to forget that water is needed, even if there's just 5 trees and 5 shrubs. So if there is not water access available right away from a close area, of course, we have to bore to get the water into the park. And then depending on the size of the meter required, we could need a 1 to 2 inch meter, all the irrigation parts, the valves, the irrigation pipe, the rotors, all that. We're looking at a cost between $10,000, $15,000 to $30,000 for those things, depending on the size of the meter. So we have to be very smart in the parks that we develop, and anytime that we have a close water source, it's very beneficial. That would reduce the cost. But again, if we don't, we're looking at $30,000 just to get a park started without park design, the actual amenities themselves. Also things that people tend not to take into consideration is what we'll need to maintain that new area. Every time we have a new area or we acquire acreage, we like to ask for a 2-man or 2-person crew, really because during our assessments of all the park areas, during our driving time and our site visits, we've determined that 2-man crews are the best for safety, and it allows a couple of sets of eyes in each area to see if anything has been missed. And, you know, at times, you know, there's things that that the staff needs to take out of the park that are very heavy, that more than 1 person is required to do to get it out safely. And also, like I mentioned before, it's always a team effort. Whenever we do have a major issue like a large break in a park, we do combine resources. We'll get an operator in there to dig it out so it doesn't take forever, so we can get back to running our irrigation. But it will take an operator, an irrigator, and a parks maintenance worker to complete the handwork, and then also help fill up the hole. So again, it is really a team effort when these things are present themselves as an emergency. And also, anytime we ask for a two-man crew, we ask for a vehicle, because if you combine so many staff in one vehicle, you're defeating the purpose of having an efficient route, because everyone's all in one place at the same time. So anytime we do ask for a two-man crew, we ask for a crew cab truck in order to carry supplies and items out of the park that need to go to the dump and back to the yard and things like that. So that cost, we're looking at anywhere between and uniform costs as well. We're looking at between $4,000 to $6,000 supplies and uniform, and another $29,000 to $30,000 for a truck for any new crew that's added, two-man crew. There are ways to offset some of our I guess shortcomings, and we've had a very successful couple of programs that have helped us. Sonia, if you could change the slide, please. So I think, I'm not sure if everyone knows what Mano y Mano is, but that's one of our groups that has been very successful. This group is funded through the CDBG grant, and I think it's just an awesome program because it helps both the staff, the Mano y Mano staff, get on their feet, become independent, and also it helps the city. They've taken some areas from us that when it comes to boots on the ground type of work, where we can't hit on a regular basis and people expect to have those areas clean, such as desert trails. They help a lot in the parking lot in the south entry. When there's sand building up on the trail, they help blow it off. They help at Veterans Park when the sand does build up in back of that area on that trail. They also help at times after large events like the untraditional events that I mentioned before. It's a 5-person crew, including 2 supervisors, and their program is available 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, assuming that they don't have any call-ins. And my staff coordinates directly with them daily. Rudy Trevino and Baldomero Garcia talk to them daily and coordinate their work, whether it's on a trail, park, or an emergency cleanup, such as they assisted at the name's escaping me. It's near Tent City. I believe it's Community of Hope, maybe. They did an emergency cleanup out there because it was getting pretty overrun with weeds and litter. Some of the pros to the program, again, I had mentioned, it's a great program to help residents get back on their feet and provide assistance to the city. And the cons, it's really only budgeted for half days, 5 half days. And there's a lot of turnover because it's a lottery system, and the new individuals have to get trained off. And so right when we feel like everything's going at a good pace, a new group will come in. And also, they can't lead work for us. They can't work with specialized equipment such as gas-powered equipment, electrical saws, and any kind of tools that could present a major hazard, because they wouldn't be covered the same way that the city employees would. We're the ones that need to take on that specialized work. Sonia, if you could go to the next slide. Thank you. So this one has been a great benefit as well. The inmate staff, it's been a program in use for years. Unfortunately, over the last year and a couple months, they haven't been out due to the pandemic. And of course, the prison, they're having their issues, and their guards are at a minimum right now. So that's why they haven't been sent out. And it's been, like I said, over a year. But when they are with us, it's a 3 to 5 inmates per crew and 1 guard from the facility, which we pay their salary. And their salaries range between $40,000 and $45,000 per guard, and I think $1 an hour per inmate. And the guards, it's a 40-hour program if the guards are available. And again, just like Mano y Mano, we coordinate with them daily, and we issue work orders for locations, especially on Loman going east between the Walgreens and the alleyways. They really help with the roadway beautification and interchanges. Some of the pros, again, they're very hardworking and they want to learn. That way they have some skills underneath their belt when they do get released, and they do a very good job on our roadways when we have them. Some of the cons, they do get locked down frequently, and guards can't give specifics when they'll be back because it's a security issue. We can't let others know in the public, or we can't let the information slip in case they're wanting to meet someone in the park or something like that. So we got to keep that very quiet. So we're not even sure ourselves when they get locked down or when they'll be back working with us. There is heavy turnover because of things that happen in the prison. So at times we don't get the same inmates, similar to mano a mano. As when things seem like they're going at their best, something happens in the prison, and those inmates or the guards are kept at the prison for a long period of time. And one last issue is that they can't work in the parks or public spaces near schools due to their situation being an inmate. So that's kind of tough. We can only have them in the roadways and in the interchanges and things like that, which is a shame because they're very hardworking and they could get a lot of things done for us in the parks as well. Some of the things that so those are a couple of our successful programs. Some of the things that we've tried to offset that are very difficult is, again, Adopt a Spot. I think it was a very good program for the medians, but that the medians have been deemed a little bit dangerous. So Robert and I have been working on that to make sure that areas are safe for the Adopt a Spot program, but it hasn't spilled over into the parks too much yet. But I think that's a way that we can kind of offset some of our issues, but it's kind of difficult to rely on those kinds of things to the standard that we provide, because it's really not their full-time job. They're volunteers. They have their life to live and they have other things to do as well. So, Adopt a Spot is a good program, but again, there are times where they just can't meet the standard that we require as a department, and it's no fault of their own. It's just very busy. Another thing that we'd like to try and do is develop public-private partnerships. Sonia has been working very hard on that, and there have been a couple instances where the hospital volunteered to landscape a couple medians, and it fell through, and we're still trying to work on that partnership. But right now there's not a lot of people wanting to throw dollars at us, and it's very difficult because we can't go out asking for them. So that's something that we'd like to improve and kind of see if we can fit that pull that into our programs here. And another thing that we could do to offset is an extension of our schedule, but again, that's not a very good practice, because the more you draw it out, the further behind you get, and it ends up being more costly, and it just eats up your time to try and catch up. That's not something that I'm looking forward to. I'd like to keep the standard as high as we can and our schedules as thorough and efficient as possible. And finally, we could categorize our parks, and see if we'd have a tier A, tier B, and tier C, but I don't think that's a good idea either, because I'd like to service the parks at a high level, no matter what size the park is, where it's located in the city. I think everything should be catered to the same and treated uniformly. So categorizing our parks would be a way to kind of help us offset our schedule. But again, I don't think it's fair that one area of town gets treated a little bit better than the other just because they have a bigger park. So I'd like to keep things as uniform as possible by adding resources instead of categorizing our parks that way. So I know it's a lot of information. The schedules are very hard to explain because it all refers and goes back to time. So I'll stand for any questions that you have right now regarding the schedules or timeline or anything like that. So please feel free. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for Franco?
Hi, Franco. It's Stan Engel, District 4. Just wanted to also comment on Mano a Mano. Sounds like a great program. Do you know why there is such a high turnover with the people who participate in Mano a Mano?
Board Chair and Mr. Engel, Franco Granillo, Parks Administrator. Yes, the turnover is really due to, I'm pretty sure that they're set up on a lottery system, because if they're not, the same people get the same opportunity over and over. It doesn't get distributed to everybody that registers for the program. So they are on a lottery system from since last year. So anytime there's a lottery system, that means that new people enter the program as the program progresses. So that's a reason for turnover. It's because it's meant to be offered to different people at different times.
Okay, thank you. And also, I guess a follow-up too is, do you have any statistics or whatever to show like actual benefits to the participants? Like, for example, how much they get back on their, like some way to quantify how they've gotten back up on their feet and become a participating, being able to more easily participate in society. Right.
When it comes to those numbers, I don't have those in our department, but I believe Natalie Green has those in hers. We partner with her because, we're able to provide the work and the areas for work, and she takes care of that kind of she takes care of the numbers regarding their improvement and what they've been able to do, to get back on their feet. So I think I can ask her to send me some information. I can send it to you for sure.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Franco, this is Megan from District 6. Thanks for your presentation. One question that comes up, or it's just some back history. Have you looked at or your number of employees or your field employees, I don't know, 3 or 5 years ago, and do a comparison between maybe when you had a jump in employment numbers versus the number of parks? I think as we start to look at this and approach, if it's approached with city council or asking for those, some of that background history of how the progression has gone. Have you always stayed at the 50 number in comparison to the number of parks, and just the comparison about how that has increased and your employee numbers have stayed more stagnant than the demands that are put upon your staff?
Board Chair and Ms. Schuler, that's a really good question. I've been with the Parks Department now since 2008. And I remember when I got hired as a warehouseman, and the number of staff that we had at the time was around 50. So we've gone up 7 employees, and I know 4 of them were on the medians to cover all the interchanges that we're receiving. And we also got 3 more staff from Public Works to handle the alleyways. So those are the 7 that we've increased over those 13 years. We also, in 2008 or 9, I think Sonia could probably give me the year better, we did lose 8 employees. We had our staff was given up during the recession, and from what I understand, it was just discussed within the city. They weren't asked to be given up, but we did give up 8 members, 8 team members, and we never recovered from that. We should have around 65 or 66 employees, and we're still at the 57 because we lost those 8 staff members. The hiring positions just weren't filled.
I think that's some good information, just, as time permits, that maybe since you're, since 2008, just to have that data so that we have some more ground to stand on, trying to help request some additional funds for staffing.
Yes, I'll definitely have all that in place. And it's very easy to come by because, myself and my managers talk about it quite often. So I'll definitely have that.
Franco, Jeff Thompson, District 2. I have a question on the when you hire a 2-man crew, of which I'm assuming you haven't done very often. It sounds like in the last 12 to 13 years. But when you put that expense that you put together between the truck and the amount of hours on a 40-hour work week, I'm assuming that's 80 hours between the two. What kind of return do you get on that on a per park basis? How many can they do over the course of a week?
Board Chair and Mr. Thompson, that's a really good question as well. So when we hire a two-man crew, the return is usually we can handle anywhere between another 10 and 12 acres a week. And right now, for example, on the northwest side schedule, we have parks like Sagecrest and Veterans and things like that. A couple large parks and a couple neighborhood parks. A two-man crew would be able to handle visiting, 3 to 4 parks daily, which, depending on the acreage, could be anywhere between 10 and 12 acres. And right now, that's exactly what we're getting in the Metro Verde area, northeast side of town. In the last 6 to 7 years, I think we've gained 10 to 12 parks out there, and we haven't gained staff for it. So if we could get 1 2-man crew to cover that area, it would really help because they'd be assigned out there, and we could put the crews that are working on the northeast side to assist on the northwest side, and maintenance would just improve significantly on the north side of town overall.
I have a follow-up to that. So in the last 5 to 6 years, you're saying how many acres is that we've added in that last 5 to 6 years, of which you have not added any crew?
In that area alone, in Metro Verde, we've added, I'm going to say roughly anywhere between 18 and 24 acres.
Wow. So theoretically, that should be, 3 to 4 additional 2-man crews.
Yes, at least 2. That would really help a lot.
Okie doke. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, this is Marilyn Zaylor speaking, and I do have some questions.
Is that Marilyn?
And maybe some solutions. I don't know. I have been away from the board for quite a while, and due to illness and other things. So here's what I have to offer. How good it may be, I don't know. This is for Sonia and for Franco, for the 2 of you guys. All right. One, I'd like to know, have you invited the city manager to a meeting especially on this issue? Yes or no?
Board Chair and Ms. Zaylor,
Yes.
we've had several meetings with our previous city managers, and I know Sonia, I haven't met too much with our current manager, Mr. Pili and Mr. Ikani. I haven't met with them very often, but Sonia has, and we've shared our issues with several different city managers several different times, and they're aware, they're aware of our struggles, but they're also aware that we do work very hard to stay on top of things. So, without trying to sound too selfish, as a Parks Department, we have discussed our struggles. But again, when they're developing budget, they also have to consider fire, police, public works. We're mixed in with all of them. So we have gotten a little bit of funding, dollar-wise in some vehicles. It's the staff that we're having trouble acquiring. So that's why we also continue to bring on more agency temps. And that's being looked at as well. But again, we do cover our issues, and they listen. But again, we're lumped in with everyone, so it's a tough decision when it comes to budget time for people above Sonia's head. I'm not sure, Sonia, if you want to add on to that. I'm not sure if I covered everything on that one.
Good evening, Board Chair and Madam Ms. Zaylor. This is Sonia Delgado, Director of Parks and Recreation. Yes, I have met with Mr. Pili and Mr. Taumapao, which is my Assistant City Manager, and we have discussed the issues. We have discussed that we are in need of staff because we continue to grow and add acres every single year, several acres a year, actually. And they are very, very well aware of that. And we do use a lot of temps with the park side of the house because we do need that assistance to make sure that we stay on our schedules and then we take care of all the property that we are responsible for.
Well, Sonia, I know you very well, and I know that you do the very best you can with the, when it comes to the budget. I know that. All right, so I'm going to suggest, though, that you do need a meeting with not only the city manager, but I would recommend that the mayor be there. And if you need me, I know the mayor personally. I know Kent very well. I can put the hammer to him if necessary. And I don't hesitate about that. You know that, Sonia. So if I can be of any help, and maybe Casey's got to talk to them too, but maybe a small meeting just so you get more information. I'd like to know what the city manager has to say, and I'd like to know what the mayor has to say about this issue, because it sounds to me you're very understaffed, and this is ridiculous that your department should be that bad off. And I think really that, right, you have to maybe check with other parks and recs in the country, send them letters and find out how many are in situation like yours, so that you can find out what goes on in other parts of the country. Maybe you do that already, I don't know, but that might be good. And the other suggestion I would have, you know, it sounds like with the prison that you have to have the guards there. I have a problem with all that. Maybe you need to look at a different way of handling this. I suggest that if Francis looks at a program that comes on Sunday, not Sunday, Saturday. It's called Parolees and Pit Bulls. All right. And what they use there are parolees. They don't use criminals that are in the jail. These are guys and women who have now are on parole, and they get jobs. She pays them, and they work very well. And what they do, it's her family that has it. And they don't really have the guards there. They have the family there. Maybe you can get volunteers who could work alongside some of the parolees. You don't need people who's stuck in jail and they come, because they're the ones who are going to try to run away. The parolees really love working with the animals. Now, you're not having animals, but get parolees that are interested in gardens, trees, whatever you need to have them do. Those would be some of my suggestions. But I think if you watch that program, you'll see how they use the parolees. And if they have to fire, they fire. But if they work, they get paid. And by that group, they don't get money out of the prisons. So those are some of the suggestions. And I would hope maybe in a couple of months before the budget comes, I would like to see what you can find out for as far as what goes on and other organizations like ours. They have to be about the same size, almost the same kind of budget, so you can do comparisons. I don't know if you've done anything like that. So Sonia, and this is some of my recommendations, but I would like to see, and I hope the board would too, see what it's like across the country at some of the places that might have parolees instead of prisoners. There's a big difference between the two. So you want to make sure that you get parolees rather than prisoners where you have to have the guards standing over them. So that's all I have to say for now, but I'll come back next month with more issues on that. And I may call Ken because I know him personally. That's all I have to say for right now. Sonia, I put the hammer to you now.
Thank you, Board Chair and Madam and Ms. Zahler.
Just Marilyn.
We do have a work session that's going to be scheduled. We will be talking about this very topic. And we are taking some notes, and we'll make sure we add some additional information to that presentation. But I will let you know when we will have that work session to have more in-depth conversation about how it impacts Parks and Rec when we get additional facilities, acreage, et cetera. Because we do have an impact, and we're starting to get to a point where we need additional staff members to assist us. And I will
Okay.
certainly look into the parolee possibility, as well as get additional information from Parks and Rec departments across the country. We do have some Parks and Rec departments that we do discuss information with. And in some instances, we are doing much better than they are. And we're about the
that's
same
good.
size, or maybe they're a little bit bigger. So, but we'll bring you some additional information in a future meeting. Thank you.
Oh, that would be great. And do you have any objections if I talk to Ken myself?
I will defer that to our board chair.
Okay. I would like her and I to meet with the mayor. That might be a great idea. Are you interested, Casey, to do that?
I'm
They
happy
have-
if you want to talk to Ken. That's
Okay.
fine.
All right. We'll see what we'll do. Okay, thank you very much. I'm enjoying the meeting. And I'll do my best for you to make sure the parks should do better. Why should you guys have to suffer like that? It's baloney. Okay.
Any other questions for Franco? In and out, but if I drop off, I come back. Don't worry, I'll figure it out. Thank you, Franco. I appreciate it. This has been very helpful.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Let's go to 7.2 water circulation systems with Phil.
Good evening. Does everybody see the screen?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Good evening. Phil Katnack, Recreation Administrator. I'm partnering tonight with Silas Garcia. He's our certified pool operator over at the Regional Aquatic Center. We're gonna give you a two-part presentation. I'm gonna go through a quick PowerPoint of splash pad water systems and give you the basics. And then Silas will talk about the maintenance and any questions that you might have, and he'll go through what they do to maintenance splash pads. So let me get started. Splash pad water systems. So just to start off with splash pads, they offer a more affordable aquatic alternative to traditional pools. So they're becoming very popular. While a swimming pool, our new 50-meter pool that we're having built, and it's coming up in the near future, is an $18 million project. A splash pad can be built for anywhere between $400,000 and $1 million. So you can service a lot of people in a season, so you get a very good bang for your buck. Currently, the city operates 2 splash pads. The Metro Verde splash pad out in the Metro Verde in that new area Franco was talking about. It has a flow-through system, and I'll talk about the systems as we go. And then the Plaza de las Cruces interactive fountain, which is a recirculating system. And we also have 2 splash pads in the planning process. So the Unidad Park, they're refurbishing that park, and there's a splash pad that will be very close to the T-ball fields, and that's in the planning phases. We've seen the plans; they're working through them pretty quick. And then the Apodaca Splash Pad, and I think that's very much at the conceptual. Even haven't really started on it, but it's something that's in the works. And I think many of you guys might have heard this from your counselors who you represent, but we have counselors who really want splash pads in all of their districts. So we've there's been discussion of additional splash pads in various locations, and I don't have the specifics, but I know just about every counselor wants one in their district. I'll go through the 2 types of systems, and the flow-through system, it's what we use at Metro Verde Splash Pad. and it's where water comes from a potable source, and it's just usually the city water supply. It's pumped onto the pad, onto the apparatuses, and then straight down the municipality's storm drain. So if you could see my arrow, it's just through to the apparatuses and then out into the sewage. So down the drain. So the pros, a splash pad system like this, a flow through system, it requires no water treatment and testing, nor the corresponding expense of staff expertise. So it's serviced daily to make sure everything's working, but our CPOs aren't going out there like they do in a recirculating system, as you'll see in a minute, every 4 hours to check the chemicals. So this one, it's water in and water out. The cons, water consumption can be in the millions of gallons over a season. There's an average of 3,000 gallons that flow through and out every 5 minutes. General splash pad can be up to 10 million gallons in a season. We've calculated ours to right around 2.5 million gallons, which still is quite a bit of water. There's ways of converting a flow through system where you can reuse the water. And I just wanted to give an example. It's very expensive, but it can be done. A flow through system can be retrofitted to allow water to flow into an underground tank. When the tank is full, the water can be repurposed for landscape maintenance. Again, this type of conversion is very costly, and it probably would be just about the same expense as the original splash pad at Metro Verde. And also, to make it a recirculating system, to retrofit it to a recirculating system, would probably be a good $400,000 to $500,000. A recirculating system. So a recirculating system works very similar to a swimming pool, and it's what we have at the Plaza Interactive Fountain. So a recirculating splash pad has a large underground storage tank that filled with water, which is pumped to the treatment equipment. It filters and disinfects the water, which is then sprayed onto a play area. The water lands on the concrete deck, runs into the drain and back into the containment system to be reused. So it's water out onto the splash pad. It's treated water chemically, and it goes right back into a tank, and it's reused, recirculated, very similar to a swimming pool. Oops. Let me get to my full slideshow. And this is going to take me a second because I don't mess with these very often. But the good thing is I only have a few slides. The pros of a recirculating water system. This system is very good for areas where water must be conserved. Water usage is greatly reduced as it's being continuously filtered and reused. So the same water is coming through, being treated, sprayed onto the pad, coming back into a tank, being chemically treated, sent through, and it's just reused and recirculated. The cons is it requires elaborate chemical filtration system. Further excavation is there's more plumbing needed to have a recirculating system, and it needs a lot of operator input, what Silas will talk about in a little bit. It's more complex where the maintenance and chemical levels must be checked multiple times a day, and Silas will go into the schedules that they use to service our Plaza de las Cruces recirculating system. Going forward, all future City of Las Cruces splash pads will operate with a recirculating system. And if we do use a flow-through system, there'll be a mechanism where we could reuse the water. The New Mexico Environmental Department, NMED, and the Model Aquatic Health Code discourage non-recirculatory systems for use. So the Metro Verde splash pad, it was built by the home builder there. It was given to us in late 2015. So it was before this administration group's time, and it's probably something that we wouldn't have gone to again. But for future, all city splash pads, we're looking at operating with recirculating systems. So I wanted to give you just the pedestrian overview of splash pads, and I want to open it up to Silas to talk about the maintenance of a splash pad, and he'll give you kind of of what he does daily, and then we'll open it up for questions. If you'd like to go ahead, Silas.
Hello, everybody. My name is Silas Garcia, a certified pool operator at the Regional Aquatic Center. Like Phil mentioned, we have 6 facilities that we maintain right now. When he mentioned the 3 that are on the way or in the planning, normally depending on the time of the year, so I'm just going to go with summertime because that's the busiest time of the year. We have people covering from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. The reason we say till 6 p.m. is because the downtown fountain, all the pools require 4-hour checks. Excuse me. But the downtown fountain, it closes at 10. So that means the last time we have to do a check is at 6 p.m. in order to be under compliance with NMED. Right now there's 3 CPOs, and then in the summertime we have 3 temps to do all 6 swimming pools and splash pads. Travel time, we have efficient routes that we've already gone through, but it normally takes, so for example, the Aquatic Center opens at 7 a.m. So we have our 6 o'clock crew that's there at 6 a.m. takes care of the Regional Aquatic Center, gets that ready to go for 7 o'clock opening. And then we have, whenever the splash pads were open, downtown would open at 10. So we'd have to be to the downtown interactive fountain. And basically, we backwash, we make sure the chemical's good, we make sure all the pumps are running, basic checks, litter control, make sure the deck is clean without anything because especially in downtown, sometimes there was, we had problems there with people leaving glass on the floor and stuff like that. And also downtown was kind of, it used to open at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we would have trouble with people bathing there. So we'd have to drain the water and get all the soap out because it'd be like soapy water. Basically, we'd have to drain the tank. And then, so when the outdoor pools are open, so after downtown opens at 10, the outdoor pools would open at 12. So obviously we're a 6-man crew, so we'd split up and do the tasks, but everything had to be done by 12 in order for everything to be open. So with the 3 upcoming pools, we're gonna have to figure out how to do that. Sorry, I've never done this, so I'm kind of a little nervous. So if I'm stuttering a little bit, don't hold it against me.
Thank you very much.
You're great. Don't worry.
Can you tell us how the chemical check at the interactive splash fountain and how that works?
Yeah, so we have to check the chemicals every 4 hours. So at the swimming pools, it's good because we have the lifeguards, but at the splash pads, there's no lifeguards there. So we have to physically be there every 4 hours to check chemicals. So yeah, that's pretty much it as far as that. So as soon as we do the morning maintenance, we got to go back every 4 hours to check chemicals. And that's pretty basic. It doesn't take very long unless something goes wrong or unless we have to backwash depending on the bather load. Sometimes we have to backwash 2 or 3 times a day because I think our interactive fountain is only, I want to say 1,200 gallons tank. So, and I don't know if you guys have seen the people that have been there whenever it's like the middle of summer when it was open, it's like jam packed. So sometimes you have to add water and backwash during those checks every 4 hours.
Thanks, Silas. And just to finish, as Silas mentioned, we operate, besides the 2 fountains and the upcoming fountains, we operate the Regional Aquatic Center, Fringer Pool, the 2 outdoor pools at Lobs and East Mesa, and soon to be a 50-meter pool. So there's 3 full-time CPOs, and we do have some temporary workers who help them out. So it's the 6-man crew covering all of those areas. And It takes a lot of expertise to be a CPO to make sure that the chemicals in our pool are safe and that they're operating at the right levels. Silas and our crew are probably the best in the Southwest at doing what they do. They're very good at what they do, so we rely on their expertise. We want to open it up for questions, and I did want to mention that our splash pad at Metro Verde, if you had a chance to be there at any one given time, there could be up to 80 kids on the pad, and it's pushed in. It's a push button, and it goes into operation for 5-minute intervals. So it's 5 minutes of water in and water out. And so if nobody's on the splash pad and pushes the button, it's not in use. But when it's busy. So with that, we want to open it up for questions, and we wanted to just give you a quick update on our splash pads. Thank you very much, and we're open for questions.
Yeah, hi, Phil and Silas, Jeff Thompson, District 2. I do have a couple questions. So right now you're saying the Mesa Verde is the only flow-through system as far as splash pads go?
Yes, Madam Chair, and Councilor Chair Board Member Thompson, yes, it's our only flow-through system right now.
Okay, and you said that was due to be retrofitted with a filtration system?
No, there's the possibility of doing it, but it's very expensive, so I did not see that happening. But that's one possibility that could happen down the road, that there's a opportunity to retrofit, but it's a very expensive endeavor.
Okay, well, to be honest, I'm glad my camera's not on because my mouth is wide open. The fact that we use over 2.5 million gallons annually. Do we have any idea what the average house uses annually as far as water consumption?
I do not have that.
Okay, I'm just wondering, like I said, that seems like an awful lot of water in an arid area that we have that I do like the idea of the fact that there might be a catch tank where you could repurpose that water. Is that something that's possibly in the works? Is that less expensive than the filtration?
That Board Member Thompson, that is something that we've looked into, and the cost again is probably about the same as the splash pad itself. So it's something that might be done in the future, especially if the pressure's there, and it becomes a city priority. Not at this time.
Right, but we had no initial outlay of cash on that because it was built. It was a gift from the builder.
That's correct.
So, okay. Yeah, well, I know splash pads are popular, but that's a lot of water. So just my take on it, but I appreciate you answering my questions.
Yes, and Board Member Thompson, that is why NMED is highly suggesting that flow through systems are not used for splash pads for any future splash pads coming up.
Great. I do have one additional question, and sorry, and then I'll jump off. But on the recirculating ones, what's the annual water usage in that?
It's a 12. I'll let Silas answer this one, but it's a 1,200 gallon tank, and it's reused constantly. But I'll let Silas go because we do have to empty and fill here and there.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a 1,200 gallon tank, like Phil mentioned. During the non-peak season, we probably drain the tank probably about once every 2 weeks. During the peak season, which is May, June, July, August, around there, whenever it's hot outside, we probably have to drain it like every other day, depending on the bather load. But in the deep days of summer, it's like every other day that we have to drain it.
Great, thank you.
Ms. Zaylor has her hand up.
That was a mistake.
That was from earlier.
Okay.
Dan, I see you. Yeah. Do you want to go?
Yeah, Silas and Phil, thank you. Stan Ingle, District 4. So Silas, can you remind me again from from talking what the size of your crew was again?
Yes, we have 3 full-time certified pool operators, and then in the summertime we have 3 temp workers that help us out, and we normally split up in 2-man groups, knock out all the pools.
Okay, so I guess with the popularity of splash pads and all of our counselors, really wanting them at as many parks as we can get away with, I guess we'd run into the same thing that Franco was talking about, was that we would just need to have more crews, and once again it would be a question of finding efficient ways to use what we've already got if you all don't get more funding, right?
Yes, and the hard part about that is that to be under compliance with NMED, we have to check them every 4 hours. Like if we could just go once a day, that would be great, but we got to be there every 4 hours. So that also depends on the hours that the splash pads are going to be open. So like the interactive fountain downtown is open till 10. So that's why we have to have crew here till at least 6 p.m.
Yeah, okay. And then I have another.
I'm sorry to interrupt. That's 7 days a week because they're open every day.
Right. Oh, no, that's fine. Thank you for clarifying that. I should probably ask another question. I'm going to guess that this is going to be on behalf of Board Member Montgomery, who's not on, because he was the one who, last year wanted to know about the splash pads and the water recirculating system. So I'm going to go ahead and ask this question and hope it's the question that he would have wanted answered. But I believe what he wanted to know last year was the presence of any kind of bacterial or viral agents in the recirculating system. Are you able to check for those? Have you found any? What's any kind of procedures? If it is even possible to check for any, are there procedures to sanitize the system? I believe he watched the reason why he asked, months ago was I think he watched something on the news about a flesh-eating bacteria at some point and then became concerned about it.
Yeah, so there's procedures that we follow. We always keep the free chlorine levels. It's required by NMED that be between a 2 and a 10 parts per million. So there's always that. The Regional Aquatic Center has what's called, alongside with the chlorine, it has a UV system, which is a supplemental disinfection. And now NMED is requiring that on all recirculatory systems going forward. So the downtown fountain does not have a UV system, but it has a sand filtration system. And of course, we keep the chemical levels between specs. As far as testing ourselves for bacteria, no. The chlorine disinfects everything. The worst response, it's happened twice where it's loose stool. That's where we have to shut down the pool and super chlorinate the swimming pool and leave it shut down for at least 12 hours, 13 hours, I think. But as far as testing for bacteria, no, but the chlorine kills everything that lives in water. And as far as the decks go, for example, the Metro Verde Splash Park, we do go there every day just to, we disinfect the deck probably every other day with the disinfectant cleaner, just because there's a lot of people that don't wear swim shoes and shower shoes. So there's a lot of bare feet on there, and we got to kill that bacteria.
Okay. All right, thank you, Silas. Hopefully, Board Member Montgomery will read the minutes, and hopefully that'll satisfy his question.
Megan, did you have anything?
Cassie, no, I'm good. I'm just also concerned about the amount of water that we are using. And so I do appreciate that if new ones do come on, they'll be the recirculatory instead of just essentially wastewater. So
I do have a question because I may have missed it, but it's a recommendation. Is it in our master plan for development too? That we won't have any more flow through?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Sonia Delgado, Director, Parks and Recreation. It is actually now a requirement through NMED that you have to have a recirculative system. So the one that's going at Unidad Park is going to have one. So anything coming out now, they all have to have them. We are aware that we'd like to put one over at Metro Verde. We will have to find a funding source for that one. And as Phil mentioned, it is extremely costly. It's probably going to be about the same amount they spent putting that splash pad in. But I think, you know, in the long run, it probably will help us. So that is something that's definitely on our list of many items that we need to take care of. We'll certainly look at that.
Okay, thank you.
And she had a miniature.
Sonia, Jeff Thompson, District 2. What is the cost to put in a splash pad?
Madam Chair, members of the board, that depends, but you're looking at least about $550,000. And it depends on the size, and it also depends on the amenities that you put on it. But that's about what it's looking like. I believe that is the cost of the one for Unidad Park. And that is just for the splash pad itself and for a couple of those amenities. And there's a few other things they need to add on there. That does not include the restrooms or showers that they also need.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? I actually had to look this up because I read about this. And typically a residential customer uses about 5,000 gallons a month of water.
Yeah, Cassie, Jeff, here, I was looking at the same thing. 3,000 gallons per month per person in a household is the average. So a household of 4, 12,000 gallons, 173 houses annually, that 2.5 million gallons would provide water for.
Yeah. So that is a lot of water. Okay, any other questions? Dan, I see you.
Yeah. Madam Chair, another question. So it just occurred to me, Phil, in your presentation when you were saying for the non-recirculating one, the one that's the big waster, did you say it went into the drainage or the actual sewage system? Because I thought I heard you say both, and
sorry, it goes down the drain into the city, down the drain into the city
sewage system.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I thought I heard you say them both 2 times, like differently. One was like the storm system, and then one was the sewage system. Okay, so that's up on the East Mesa, correct? That particular.
Yes, it is. It's right across the street on the south side of Monte Vista Elementary. I don't know the street name, but
Is that the area of the city where the sewage water gets reclamated for landscape use?
I am not sure on that. I don't know if Kathy's on this call.
Okay. Not that it matters, but I feel like if it does, yes, that's fine, but it still is a massive waste of water.
Madam Chair, Board Member Engel, this is Kathy Matthews. The area of town, it's in the Metro Verde area of town. It's on Peachtree Hills, or in that vicinity, as Phil mentioned. And that area currently does not have the wastewater reclaimed, but it is slated for in the future in the utilities plans to be captured as reclaimed water.
Okay. Thank you, Kathy. Yeah, I would still like to reiterate, even if that area starts getting its sewage water starts getting reclaimed, it still feels like a big, gigantic waste of water. But I know you can't do anything about it, and I'm glad that NMED is now requiring recirculating.
All righty. So thank you to both of you for sharing all that. And we're moving on to the next one. Project update 7.3, Kathy.
Good evening, Madam Chair. I will share my screen, have a presentation. Okay, let me see if I can get that started. There we go. So are y'all seeing my screen? Oops, apologize. Okay, so this evening I wanted to just go over quickly for the board members the projects that we're working on that are in the capital improvement program for this current fiscal year, and also some of the park impact fee projects which are slated for next year as well. So this current year, our park impact fee projects, those that are being supported by park impact fees, include the Apodaca Park Aquatic Playground. That particular project, we are in the planning process, and we will be receiving what's called an ORLPP grant, the Outdoor Recreation Legacy Program grant, to the tune of $750,000. When we receive that grant, we will be matching the grant with $750,000 of park impact fees. We're in the planning process, the final approval stages. The National Park Service and the National Park Service issues the grant through the state parks, and the State Historic Preservation Office is just evaluating our cultural resources study to make sure that we've complied with all the requirements of that federal grant. In addition, we have the East Mesa Public Safety Complex Park supported by $100,000 from park impact fees. We're in the planning stages for that, trying to figure out how that particular project, which likely would be a trailhead of some kind, would coordinate with the Go Bond project for the East Mesa Public Recreation Complex in the vicinity. So we're not making great strides on that project yet, since the Go Bond project is just now completing design, and now that'll free us up to be able to coordinate a little more closely with that project. Also, Highland Park is supported by park impact fees, as well as hold harmless gross receipts taxes. Currently, there's about $874,000 available. That will be going towards construction of Highland Park, which will be located adjacent to Highland Elementary School at Emerald Avenue north of US 70. In addition, neighborhood parks in the Metro Verde subdivisions are supported using park impact fees. So as the developer builds parks in the Metro Verde subdivisions and seeks agreements with the city council to reimburse for the construction of those parks, we have funding available for that kind of partnership with the developer there. This past year, the National Fitness Campaign Outdoor Gym, the second one, was supported by park impact fees. That particular gym is completed. It's at the East Mesa Recreation Center on Porter Drive, adjacent to the fire station and across the street from Sage Cafe and down the street from the East Mesa swimming pool. But that one is complete and open and available for use. In addition, park impact fees are supporting the Pueblos at Alameda Park project, also known as Calle Abuelo Neighborhood Park. That's sort of a naturalistic park serving as a trailhead for the particular neighborhood. The last $15,000 of park impact fees will be used to install play equipment at that park. We'll do a few ground elements that are relatively inexpensive, and will add a lot of value to that park for the kids in the neighborhood. So this current fiscal year, the amount of park impact fees designated for projects was just over $2 million. These particular projects, I just want to sort of reiterate them. I'll go through them a little bit quickly here. Of course, we've got Apodaca Park Aquatic Playground, and you can see Apodaca Park at the corner of Madrid and Solano. The swimming pool will be demolished as part of this project. A splash pad with a recirculating system will be installed in an aquatic playground. In additional park picnic facilities, refurbishment of the playground in the vicinity, and construction of a multi-use trail around the park, allowing better access and a new use for recreators within that park. So the East Mesa Public Safety Area Park is on Sonoma Ranch Boulevard. We have 350 acres that we are leasing from the Bureau of Land Management in a parcel of about 15 acres. The public safety complex is located in that southwest corner of the 350 acres, and towards the center and the east side of this 350 acres is where the Go Bond public recreation area, public recreation complex is going, and the park impact fees devoted to this project will allow, like I said, perhaps a trailhead or some kind of other kinds of trail amenities to coordinate with that facility. There's a picture of the master plan for the public recreation complex, and the park that is shown on the southern and southwestern end of that recreation complex is where the trail systems will within the park will coincide with existing trails that are on site already, existing sort of desire lines of where people actually walk and recreate even on this land, even as we speak. So Highland Park then, of course, also is located north of Highland Elementary School on the north side of US 70, adjacent to Emerald Avenue. And this park is illustrated here in part of the construction documents, will include multi-use fields. These fields are shaped so that they can be used for soccer or for baseball or softball. And they will be covered in turf grass with then also a recreation trail around the perimeter of those fields. Metro Verde neighborhood parks, of course, this aerial photo illustrates a number of parks that have already been developed in partnership with the Metro Verde developer, and we're contemplating additional parks to come soon, namely what we're calling the Ninja Park, which has got sort of American Ninja style equipment in it so that people can sort of run a little gauntlet and get a nice workout. And also Red Hawk Villas Park is under construction. Just on Monday, council approved the agreement for that park. It's more a quiet, passive recreation kind of space, as in contrast to the Ninja Park, which is a very active kind of space. So we're trying to develop a lot of different kinds of different types of parks so that everyone within our community can find a space that suits their needs and what they're looking for out of our parks. As I mentioned, the National Fitness Campaign Outdoor Gym #2 is located at the East Mesa Recreation Center. There's a picture of it from the street. That's the actual gym is behind that wall, but it presents a nice face to the street side on Porter, and we hope welcomes people in with the shade, which has been very key in making that kind of space usable and comfortable for people. The Pueblos at Alameda Neighborhood Park, also known as Calle Abuelo, is located off of Calle Abuelo, which intersects with North Rise to basically in the east part of town, south of US 70. And so the parkland is located as illustrated in the yellow outline here, and can serve as a trailhead for people who want to walk out into the undeveloped land and the arroyo here. I believe this is the Alameda Arroyo here. And that the project is near completion. It does include a piece of artwork that's called the Tree of Life, a sculpture that the City Art Board selected for this location. As you can see, the park already includes benches, a picnic table, and a shade structure, some native plantings, including native grass seeding, which it turns out is going to need some work to get that to take. There is an irrigation system to support that, but we have yet to successfully establish a stand of native grasses, but we will not be deterred. We will make it happen. So then for this upcoming fiscal year, we are not proposing new expenditures or new use of the budget, of the park impact fee budget, but we are planning to continue with our existing line items, these carryovers, Apodaca Park, Highland Park, and East Mesa Public Safety Area. Also, in a sense, Metro Verde neighborhood parks will carry over, but we've expanded that budget because that partnership is resulting in a lot of parks that meet our goals as outlined in the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. And that goal is to have a neighborhood park within a 10-minute walk or a quarter-mile distance from all residential development. And so it seems to be working. It seems to be an investment that is worthy of park impact fees. So I just want to go fairly quickly over other capital improvement projects that our team is working on this fiscal year, and will likely many of them will carry into next fiscal year. I won't go into great detail on them, but I wanted to show you that in addition to those projects that are supported by park impact fees, we have many projects that are supported by other funding sources: city bonds, state legislative grants, other grants, and the like. So we do have Ballfield and soccer field renovations and upgrades on our project list. This was the Provincia Van Dam lighting upgrades to allow that space to be useful for nighttime play as well. That project is very near completion. We've essentially spent all of the money with the exception of about $1,500, which we have received permission to expend on drinking fountains. And so we will support the purchase and installation of drinking fountains, 2 of them at the Provincia Van Dam, multi-use fields, using the remaining $1,500 of this established budget, and also with the support of some of Franco's and the athletics sections operating budget. So we'll get those drinking fountains installed. We're looking at BMX track parking lot and ADA improvements. There is budget available for those, but facilities management, a section of Public Works, will actually be managing that project. Parking lots are right up their alley, not so much up my alley. Chandler Tank on the East Mesa off of Sonoma Ranch Boulevard also has established budget that's from a bond with the city. We'll be using that to design and construct the park at Chandler Tank based on the master plan that we developed in concert with the neighbors in the vicinity of that facility. Mearshart Recreation Center wood flooring is nearing completion. The project has been finished, and my understanding is that the walkthrough to generate the punch list for that particular project has been completed just this week. Phil got some pictures for us, and Judy Barella had provided some pictures for us, and it really is. I mean, if you could call a floor a thing of beauty, this one is it. It's gorgeous, it's beautiful, it's going to serve that facility very well. Ballfield parking lot improvements is similar to the BMX track improvements. Parking lot improvements, facilities management will be leading that project for us to improve that parking lot, which really needs an investment of some time and effort and some design expertise. Skate park improvements, we received a legislative grant from the 2020 legislative session to the tune of $845,000. We're in the process of evaluating the responses to the request for proposal for design build project for that particular project. So we anticipate in the next 2 to 4 months getting that under contract and getting planning and design efforts started on those improvements. Gomez parking lot improvements, again, similar to the other parking lot improvements, will need the expertise of facilities management and public works. Tortugas Trail, in conjunction with number 9, the Doniana Move Trail, both received legislative grants. Those grant fundings from the state legislature support a grant received from the Paso del Norte Foundation, a private organization, to construct those trails. So we will be working with our partners in the town of Mesilla and Doniana County to partner with Elephant Butte Irrigation District to construct trails that connect city trail systems with through other neighboring communities, our friends and neighbors in town of Mesilla and other outlying areas of Doniana County. In addition, there's an established budget for Soldados multi-use field lighting, $52,000. It's not quite enough to do very much other than design, but we will get started on that. There's also the remainder of legislative grant for general park equipment and renovations, and actually that budget amount actually has been spent. We spent the final amount of that grant on doggy do bag dispensers, just to help Franco out keeping our parks as clean as possible. We do have a legislative grant currently that's for the Interstate 10, Interstate 25 Interchange Erosion Control Project. The city is actually seeking change to that grant. We're requesting that the legislature reauthorize that funding for use in landscaping medians actually within the city limits. We're hoping that they will agree to do that, and it can support a grant that they also provided to us last year, a $50,000 grant for design and construction of median landscapes in Loman and Sonoma Ranch Boulevard. So if the legislature agrees to reauthorize that $418,000, that will actually give us some construction budget in support of our $50,000 design budget for landscaping medians on Loman Avenue and Roadrunner Parkway. That also will support the item number 13 median landscaping, which are city bonds and grants, or excuse me, tax money, hold harmless gross receipts tax funding that we are currently expending on what I call city bond median phase 1. That project is in construction and nearing closeout. We're working with the contractor to finish up punch list items on phase 1, and that will leave us approximately $850,000 to go into design of what we're calling phase 2. That'll get us design and construction of median landscapes hopefully at least one in each council district. So we're chipping away at the medians that aren't landscaped, just in support of beautifying our city and making the streets cooler, more comfortable, and more representative, more reflective of the community that we live in, and less about just plain dirt. Nevada Avenue corridor is also nearing completion. They're working on punch list items. Public Works managed the construction portion of that project, and I believe they are nearing closeout. Or I should say they're nearing the completion of the closeout processes. Just a few more projects. I'll try to go through them really quickly. I know it's getting late. Park security and lighting was a legislative grant, and in support of security cameras and additional lighting at Veterans Memorial Park. So the security cameras have been installed. The electrical service has been upgraded so that the electrical system can support additional lighting. And we have initiated planning process of installing additional pathway lighting as requested, particularly by the veterans who use that park for pathway lighting for safety and for beautification as well. So we will be closing out that project by initiating design and construction installation of those pathway lights, and anticipate that in this coming calendar year, we should finish up that project. Parks smart controllers and booster pumps was supported by what's called a Water Smart grant through the Bureau of Reclamation. The idea is to complete projects that improve our ability to conserve water. And so we expended those funds on installing smart controllers at our athletic facilities at Hadley, and also installing booster pumps to increase the efficiency of our irrigation systems at Apodaca Park and at Soldados multi-use fields. So we have, we are working on the planning process for determining the, analyzing the existing irrigation systems and determining the size required for those pumps. I anticipate probably completion of that project this summer, potentially this fall, but really that one needs to come off our list. And so we're focusing very hard on it to get those pumps installed. Pioneer Women's Park also received additional legislative grant funding for repair and restoration activities of the gazebo in Pioneer Women's Park. You may recall that last year and the year before, we had completed a master planning process for Pioneer Women's Park, supported strongly by the neighbors and other interested community members. So we have a council approved master plan. That plan includes renovating the gazebo, and the state legislator is supporting us in those efforts to the tune of just over $200,000. Also, we received an RTP grant through the New Mexico Department of Transportation. It's called a Recreational Trails Program grant. And we will be expending the $108,000 on design for the trail along the Las Cruces lateral from University Avenue to Main Street. We solicited proposals. We selected a consultant. We negotiated the scope of work and the price for that design work. Thanks to my colleagues in Public Works, they were very instrumental in bringing the consultant's cost into line with our budget. And I anticipate contracting with that consultant. Hopefully within this coming week, we will finalize that contract and be able to get started on that project. The final project, Public Works, is again helping us out with a new parking lot at Veterans Park. The city acquired property just to the north of Veterans Memorial Park and had established a budget from city bonds to design and construct that park. The design is nearly complete, and we anticipate bringing that design to this board for review at next month's meeting. So all of those projects total approximately $9 million. We've got a lot of work going on. In addition, there are, of course, the general obligation bond projects that Public Works is managing and consulting with Parks and Recreation on these two items from the Go Bond projects, in particular, $2.7 million for trails systems along various and sundry EBID facilities, as you've heard in the past meetings, and then also almost $17 million for other improvements on Hadley, the East Mesa Public Recreation Complex, other sports court improvements, and also 2 dog parks, one at the expanded Animal Services Center and one at Byrne Lake. Those 2 questions of the Go Bond total just over $19 million, $19.5 million. So in total, our Parks and Recreation capital improvement projects, many of which we are directly involved with, some of which our colleagues at Public Works are handling, total just over $24 million. So we're busy, we're expending, we're investing in our community and providing new, improved, and just better overall parks facilities for our community. We also have other non-CIP projects which just sort of come our way, and we work at completing, including renovations at the Women Veterans Monument, some streetscape projects through Metro Verde, what's called the VAD, the Voluntary Assessment District. We got a grant. We were recipients of an AARP grant, the FitLot, of course, that'll provide new facilities at Benavides Community Center in District 4, definitely a facility that's worthy of investment. A new skate park also. Legislative funding was just accepted by council on Monday, so that will be added to our list. Red Hawk Boulevard, another landscape. Some master planning efforts will be occurring. Some signage projects on our trails, and then of course, council approved a resolution authorizing and directing Parks and Recreation to purchase land within District 5 and to design and build a park, a neighborhood park in that District 5. So we're working quite hard on that one as well, though it is not on our CIP. So thank you for your patience and for hearing me out. And I will be happy to answer any questions and definitely receive your comments. Thank you.
Do we have any questions? Dan, I see you.
Yeah. Hi, Kathy. It's Stan Engel, District 4. Just in regards to the median landscaping, I just wanted to make sure that the design for the landscaping in some instances takes into account the runoff, because obviously if you go up Lowman after a storm, you can see that, you know, there's some pretty bad runoff sometimes in the medians and whatnot, that in the islands and whatnot, that, you know,
Yeah, Madam Chair, Board Member Engel, absolutely. That, especially in Lowman, the slopes on that street are, you know, they just lend themselves to a road, and the soil conditions there as well. So definitely in the design process, it's part of why I anticipate that design will be so costly for that Lowman Roadrunner median project, because they'll have to be very carefully designed and then even more carefully built to ensure that we actually address those erosion questions and not make them worse. And it's definitely our intention to. harvest that stormwater that falls on those medians so that that water can get used within the medians, captured and held within the medians, to support the landscape, and to also at the same time mitigate the issue of erosion occurring that spills over onto the street, disrupting traffic. So yes, your point is very well taken.
Okay, thank you, Kat.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I'm always like amazed how well you go through this point by point and just bring it all out. So seeing another, I think you're off the hook.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate it. And thank you for your time and letting me explain a big part of what Parks and Rec is. Thank you.
And keep after the native grass, like, yeah.
We'll make it happen. Thank you.
All right. What's next? I'm not sure if Sonia's still here, but we have a COVID-19 update, 7.4, if not.
Madam Chair, Phil Katnack, Recreation Administrator. Sonia had to step away to a meeting, so she apologizes that she had to leave a little early. But I'll give a quick COVID update for our department. As you know, we were in the red last time we met. We had to close some facilities down, but we moved back into the yellow. Lap lane swimming opened back up. The fitness areas opened back up. Tutoring opened back up. And I'm sure everybody will go over there on their Parks and Rec comments. Parks and Rec staff has been working on a vaccine registration promotion and going out to the local grocery stores daily and promoting people registering for the vaccine. In the first 2.5 weeks of the program, they reached up to 600 people and had about 200 people registered who would have not otherwise registered. So it's been a very good promotion. We're working with all the other departments of the city, but Parks and Rec is taking the lead and we're manning all of the stores. There was news about it today. It was on Telemundo. It was covered in a couple of other press areas, and I'm sure those will be coming out of the next days. But staff's been working hard to get our opening programs going. Franco and Parks is meeting with local leagues to start to get the process of opening up our sports fields and see how that's going to look. Next week, we're going to open up Mearshide Recreation Center for fitness. And we're also opening up Frank O'Brien Papin for table tennis. We have some activities that are going to start happening, like walking programs, expanded tutoring and after school programs, outdoor activities for youth that'll be in the meeting the governor's guidelines. We're going to continue our recording of music in the park. It's going to be at Rio Grande Theater, and part of the yellow level allows for recording of musical performances in a venue at 25% or less. So we're going to definitely take advantage of that. And we're looking for ways to open up. We're excited to start adding activities, and we want to be ready when we're able to. So we're starting slowly, but if you see tutoring's back online, swimming's back online, the fitness areas are coming up, and we're working hard towards that. So that's just a very quick overview. And if anybody has any questions, I'm here to answer the best that I can.
Anyone have any questions for Phil? Seeing none, I guess we're going to staff member comments. Phil, do you want to kick it off? And we'll just go around.
Yes, Phil Katnack, Recreation Administrator. So I kind of went over a lot of the stuff in what we're doing for COVID. Lap lanes are open for swim at Regional Aquatic Center in Fringer. We're getting our fitness area ready for Mearshide. It's open at the Regional Aquatic Center already. We're opening up our facility for limited table tennis. We're starting a new walking program. We have a virtual marathon. It's a 6-week, 26-mile walk, run, crawl. But if you get to that 26 miles, you get a T-shirt and you track it on your own device. So you turn in your numbers to to the designated place. Registration started yesterday and there was already about 20 people registered. Actually, it started on the 15th and there's about 20 registered as of today. We're going to start hiking again. So we're getting ready for all the activities that we can do. We're looking forward to it. Again, my staff is working at those vaccine promotions and they're also helping out at the vaccine distribution events. So our staff has been very busy, very proud of the Parks and Rec staff. As Kathy mentioned, we got our league gym floor replaced that had been over 20 years old. It's a full court gym that goes north, south, east, and west, and that you could go full court. We couldn't do that before as we didn't have flooring under our bleachers, but now you can bring the bleachers in and play full court across or full court lengthwise. So very excited about that. We're getting ready to hire some summer staff, and that's about it from the recreation section. Thank you. Robert, are you there? Robert will give an update for youth services.
Good evening, board members. Through youth services, our juvenile citation program continues to work virtually. Classes have been filling up, being able to work with youth, and CYFD provided us a new platform to request monthly reimbursements. So supervisors and staff are working diligently on those items there. We're hoping to introduce community service in person with our clients soon, and trying to get a little bit more face-to-face with them as guidelines and changes permit. Through Keep Las Cruces Beautiful, we're preparing for our Great American Cleanup in April, so we'll be sending out a news release for that in the very near future, and also looking to try to finish out the fiscal year with a few of our district cleanups throughout the city as well, possibly in May and June before we're done with this year's grant process. They are working with LCPD and volunteers this weekend out at Burn Lake for a cleanup. So they'll be providing some information and collecting volunteers' names as well as supplies and equipment for the cleanup. Our out of school time program, as Phil mentioned, we're doing tutoring throughout the day at our various city locations. We actually just met with Las Cruces Public Schools today to see how we may be able to get into the schools abbreviated manner, following guidelines, and of course following LCPS procedures, and offer some type of after school program for families and youth that are in need now that they go back to school. So we'll be working on that and hopefully getting something out in the very near future. And I believe going to be also doing a somewhat of a normal spring break, but trying to offer as many programs as possible for our youth, following the 1 to 10 guideline, and in outdoor settings for this upcoming spring break with the current youth that are in our tutoring program at this current time. And that is all for youth services.
Thanks, Robert. Kathy, do you have an update for parks?
No, I hope my report stands on its own. We're working hard and appreciate your support. Thank you.
Okay, and the main thing that Franco, who had to leave, also wanted to just let you know that he is working with the area leagues and associations for opening up our sports fields in the near future when it's time. And that's our report from staff.
Hazel, did you have anything? Are you good? Thinking good. Okay, let's go to board member comments. Ms. Saylor, did you want to speak first?
That's okay. Yeah, I just want to let Carrie know that I will be in touch with the mayor next week and then find out what his schedule is, and then I'll talk to you about that so we can see him. And then also Saturday, I'm gonna go, I watch Animal Planet since I'm with cable. It's channel 50, but I'll get the where she's located with her parolees. They're out of Louisiana at New Orleans, but I'll get more information and pass it on to the people that need it. And I hope we can really get you a lot of money. That's important. Okay, that's all I have to say, and I hope, God willing, I'll see you next month. Bye-bye.
Thank you. I'm glad you could make it this time. I got an email from Mr. Shermanic too that said he wanted to pass on his hello to you. Stan, Megan, Jeff.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, yes.
I do have one thing.
Oh,
Megan, I did verify on those minutes. I do want to review to make sure everything else is correct from the recording. So I will have that put on the next agenda for correction.
Great. Thank you, Hazel, for checking into that for us.
You're welcome.
I guess, Cassie, if you're okay, since I'm on, I don't have anything. I have just maybe one question for the staff. Just kind of wanted to see maybe an update about the Wi-Fi status that we had talked about a while back ago, see if there had been any movement on that, especially with schools going back in session. And that's all I have. But no comments from here, except for we drove by the East Mesa outdoor gym the other day, and there seemed to be a lot of people when the weather was nice out there. So that is a great addition to the East Mesa area.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Phil Kadnack. Robert, do you want to answer that one, or did you want me to on the internet data centers?
Go ahead, Phil.
So, Madam Chair, Phil Kadnack, Recreation Administrator. So just this week, we did have a Comcast cable putting in internet at Mearshite Recreation Center and the Regional Aquatic Center. So those two sites were the first two that from the Lift Zone project that Robert talked about a few meetings back. So they are making progress. We want it at all of our rec centers, and we have a list of about 7 locations between Parks and Recreation and Quality of Life, but we have made some progress in that they did go into Mearshite Recreation Center and Regional Aquatic Center to get the Wi-Fi set up.
Great, thanks, Phil. That's good news to hear.
Stan, Jeff.
Madam Chair, Stan Ingle, District 4. Since I'm unmuted, I'll go ahead and jump in front of Jeff. Sorry, Jeff. Nothing really of note to make comments about, except just again to thank the park staff for all their hard work, and especially considering that you know the park department always seems to be expanding, but their workforce doesn't seem to be. So and then again, just to and you know also acknowledge the work that they're doing to get the word out on the vaccines, because that is very important. We need to put the pandemic in the past and get your shots, wear your masks, and that's all I've got.
Yep. Madam Chair, Jeff Thompson, District 2. Yeah, I have no other additional comments. I'm good. Thank you.
And neither do I. So now I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Since I'm still unmuted, Madam Chair, I will make a motion to adjourn.
Do you have a second?
Since I'm unmuted, Stan Ingle, I second Mr. Thompson's motion to adjourn.
Are we roll calling this? No? Yes? Hazel? Chair discretion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Sorry, I was muted, but I think this one will be unanimous, don't you think?
Well, I think so. Okay. All right. Thank you all.
8 o'clock on the nose, it looks like.
Yes, 8 o'clock
Yeah.
on the nose. All right.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Stan.
everyone. Have a
Yep.
good evening.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye now.
Thank you guys. Bye.